Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly webinar series that occurs here on our Facebook page every Friday at noon. My name is Brianna. I'm a Sustainable Transportation Vermont intern, and I'm here to announce our speaker for today, Bob Farnham. Today, Bob will discuss and reflect on where Vermont is on renewable energy, energy efficiency, transportation, and food, how we got here, and where we need to go. Bob effectively uses his considerable skill for leveraging the power of digital media to spread the word and his timeless dedication to showing up at an event or gathering where there might be the opportunity to gently bend someone's ear about the value of clean renewable energy. Through his own effort, he has become knowledgeable in all the latest green technologies, and he can talk about them in plain, compelling language that wins over even the most skeptical. Bob is fearless in talking to anyone and absolutely committed to doing everything he can promote the widespread adoption of conservation, energy efficiency, sustainability, and ending our reliance on fossil fuels. So I'm going to bring Bob up now. Hey, Bob, how are you?
I am excited.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for including me. We've been talking off camera, but I just want to say it on camera that I have been such a huge fan of the show since you guys started it, and it's always got great quality. I always get tidbits of information that I'm like, wow, I never knew that, or boy, we could really use that in this certain way, and it's like it's actionable. So I've tried to. So when you said last week or the week before, whenever it was, invited me to come on the show, I was like, me? Are you kidding? So I tried to take it kind of seriously, made some notes, and look forward to covering a few topics and just bringing people up to speed on where I think we are and how we got here and where we're going.
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited to have you here. And before you jump in, I just want to tell the viewers, if anyone has any questions or comments for Bob, you will have the option to join the stream at the end of his presentation. And also, if you don't feel comfortable joining the stream, please feel free to post your comments just in the comment section. But I think now is a great time if, Bob, you want to give yourself even a little bit more of an introduction on your work and how you got to where you are now, and then just jump right into the presentation.
Well, a lot of people know me as Bob the Green Guy, and I got that name from doing a presentation for a bunch of general contractors. And they were, it was just before 2008 and the crash. And I realized that it was coming. I saw it coming, and I kind of felt like, gosh, we could be turning these contractors on to how to do renewable energy projects and to do energy efficiency projects on homes that, you know, we've got 650,000 people or so in Vermont. There's a huge market of old houses that need energy efficient upgrades. So I put together a presentation for these contractors. About 85 guys, frankly, all men showed up, and I had folks from Efficiency Vermont come and from the state, and we just talked about where our housing stock stood at that present moment and showed them how easy it was to upgrade houses for efficiency and to do it in really more sustainable ways. And it would, of course, lower our energy needs. It was a great place to invest money as far as a homeowner goes. And that was back in 2007, I guess. And the contractors would come to the place where I was working, and they'd say, "Where's Bob? You know, that green guy." And the first time I heard it, I was like, "Oh, that's it. I'm going to own that." So, and I've been interested in it, in renewables and energy efficiency since the early 70s. I remember the oil embargo back in 1976, and literally waiting in line to buy gasoline on odd days. And I thought, this is ridiculous. There's no way that this can be sustainable into the future. And it's around the same time that Jimmy Carter put the solar panels on the White House. And a friend of mine, Steve Strong, kind of one I look up to quite a lot in the industry of solar. He's been around since they put the solar panels on the White House, and he participated in that to some extent. So And then, of course, Ronald Reagan came and decided that solar was a bad idea and removed the solar panels from the roof. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it really set us back decades, decades that where we should have been looking into renewables and energy efficiency. And what we did was we doubled down on coal, we doubled down on fracking, we doubled down on pipelines. And we even knew, well, the industry knew that fossil fuel was the burning of fossil fuel was polluting our atmosphere, of course, and but they didn't let us know that. So that's a real problem. Now we know, and I guess it was probably Bill McKibben. I think it was 1989 or 86, maybe. He wrote the first real book on the Earth and climate change and all that. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I did make a note about it, and I'm embarrassed that I can't remember it. But that's not a big surprise. Let's see, what was it called? Well, Bargo. Here it is, The End of Nature. Of course, I knew that. And it was in 1989. I was right. So the reality is, we did get a heads up. We have become more aware of the fact that we are affecting our climate, and simply by using a fuel in the way that it's suggested we use it, which is to burn it. Well, when my dad was a kid, my family lived here in Vermont. My dad was living in Tunbridge, Vermont, born in 1930. And as a young man, he used to cut hay with a horse and a hay cutting device that you would sit on. And when I think about that, later in life, he had a fancy sports car. And I mean, the advancement of the technology is incredible just in that one particular lifetime. And his mom, my grandmother, used to take cream to the creamery from Chelsea, Vermont to South Royalton, Vermont in the wintertime. It's about a 15-mile drive now. And they would leave first thing in the morning in the winter with a team of horses and a sleigh loaded with cream in cans. And they would spend the day going the 15 miles from Chelsea to South Royalton, unload the cream at the creamery, spend the night at a relative's house, and come back the next day. So their world was, a day's drive was 15 miles. So imagine. A friend of mine, my son actually, a few years ago, went to the Olympics, left on Friday night, flew to, I guess it was Brazil, if I remember right. Woke up the next morning in Brazil and went to the Olympics over the weekend and flew back on Monday. What are we thinking? It's just amazing to me. In the time of my father to me to my son, to have the ability to fly literally to the other side, almost literally to the other side of the planet overnight, and spend the weekend there and watch the Olympics and then come home. It blows my mind. And it all comes from fuel, the fuel that allows us to get from one place to another. And I think that fossil fuel, being a limited supply, really is, it's a condensed fuel. It's easy to move around and everything, but using it is killing us. And I just read this morning, there's the last iceberg or ice shelf in the Antarctic is starting to break up. And, and so we are having an effect on our planet. And it's just scary to think that it's happened in such a short period of time. Now, the good news is we have just gone through a few years here in Vermont specifically, but across the country, really, and around the world, of renewable energy in the form of wind and solar and hydro. I won't get into the politics of all of them right now, but I will say that each of those work in a fairly sustainable manner Is it perfect? No. Is it doable now so that we could be running our existence on this planet through sustainable forms of energy? I think we have reached that place. And I think that with the introduction and really the ramping up of efficiency, and Vermont in particular, along with a few other states who have worked with this company, um, has Efficiency Vermont and the VEIC, Vermont Energy. Oh gosh, what is I hate acronyms, and this is why, because now I can't remember the name of their business. Vermont Energy Income, no, Investment Corporation, Vermont Energy Investment Corporation. So they run Efficiency Vermont, and Efficiency Vermont helps Vermonters specifically, both business owners and homeowners, find ways to get an energy audit on their home or business so that they're able to kind of have a playbook, have a set of directions on what um, what they could be doing to their home to make it more energy efficient, use energy more efficiently. So we are at a place where we have solar panels that you can buy from a local distributor. There are companies like Sun Common and lots of others that are more locally based right here in Vermont. And then there are companies that are nationwide companies that will come and install your solar panels for you. It's pretty easy to do. And now it's becoming much more cost effective. So, especially when you take into account the true cost of continuing down the road that we're on. We don't include the cost of defense in the Middle East to keep the oil flowing. That's not reflected in the cost of a gallon of gas. If it was, we would be paying much higher prices at the pump. But instead, they've moved that cost to our taxes, so we don't really see where that goes. And maybe if we change the way we looked at our energy and the true cost of that energy, it would influence, much like taxes on things influence the purchasing decisions. So taxes 101 is you tax what you don't want and you subsidize what you do want. And that's a direction that we definitely need to be going. It's the idea that I can drive down the road and have my exhaust pipe spewing CO2 into the atmosphere. If I wish we could see it, like in the wintertime when you're driving around and it's really cold and you can see the exhaust coming out of the cars stopped at the stoplight. I wish it was like that all the time, because the fact that it's invisible makes it that much easier for us to pretend it's not happening. But the reality is, of course, we see it every day. Let's see. I'm going to just look at a couple more notes here and see if well, you're always going to have pushback. And I run into it all the time. And one of the things, we were told that nuclear power was the answer. We were going to have electricity that was cheaper than you could pay. It was just going to be so cheap. Of course, they didn't tell us about the cost of dealing with the waste for a few 100,000 years. And the same was true with fracking. We relied on fracking for a little while, put in all these pipelines, but we never really calculated the cost of these companies going bankrupt and leaving the liability that they've created behind in the form of aquifers that are polluted with fracking fluids that we don't even know what they are. So that was never good. And of course, coal, another one, we were told that was the answer. And you could probably ask the coal miners in West Virginia who aren't able to breathe from the coal dust and the mountains that have been blown up. And those are not alternatives that really work for us. And the cost of those detriments were never included in the cost of the fuel itself. So let's see. Well, we've got a lot of companies now who have shown success and have shown that renewables and energy efficiency um, creates jobs, and pretty darn good jobs. A lot of students coming out of technical colleges like Vermont Technical College in Randolph, understanding building science, the science of how buildings work, um, and taking that information and using it to do energy efficient upgrades on our existing housing stock would create jobs like crazy, buying needed materials that are mostly American made. I suppose you could buy some fancy foreign windows because Europe has a lot of they have a lot of technology in their windows, but does it really make sense to ship it across the ocean to save a few BTUs? So, for efficiency, there's tons of jobs available in that arena, from doing energy efficient upgrades where you actually do the science of testing a home and figuring out what needs to happen there, to the folks that get up in the attic and take out the old insulation and put in the new insulation and all that, to renewable people. So the people that are helping all of us understand how solar and wind works so that we can decide which source of renewable energy we want to invest in ourselves. There, there are the jobs to educate us. There are the jobs to do the calculations and figure out what we need to have on our roof or on our property or in a community solar project. How much solar do we need to invest in? And there are the people who make those, the hardware that goes into putting a solar project together. And then you have the local people who are doing the installations, either mounting the solar panels on your roof or hooking up all the hardware in your garage or in your basement or wherever. And now, of course, we're getting into storage and figuring out how we're going to store electricity, either through our electric vehicles. I haven't really gotten into transportation at all, but I was just in a session yesterday talking about how much of our annual expense for fossil fuels in Vermont, it's about $2.1 billion last year that Vermonters paid for fossil fuels, and about $1.5 billion of that left our economy, left the state. And that kind of model, just, it might be convenient to pull up to the pump and fill up your tank, but you're sending your money out of the state's economy. And I just see us being able to kind of bounce back from the pandemic and change the direction of our economy here in Vermont. Through the years, we had really supported an agricultural economy in Vermont, and that was mostly around dairy. And now there are a lot of organic farms and a lot of farms that are growing vegetables for sale, and a lot of Vermonters are taking the vegetables and like the farm produced products and making jams and jellies and dinners and all kinds of things that you can buy sort of as an aftermarket product rather than just buying a zucchini. So we're headed in a direction where the pandemic has really opened our eyes to our work, and many of us have figured out that and businesses have figured out that we can be working from home, and not all of us for sure. But it is a pretty big chunk, and it does have a huge impact on our use of carbon-based fuels. So if you were living in the Northeast Kingdom and driving to Burlington or Montpelier every day for your daily commute, and now you don't have to do that, that is saving a lot of money. It's cutting down on the amount of CO2 going into the atmosphere, which is a good thing. Will it continue like this forever? Probably not. But using tools like Zoom and this one we're on right today is called Be Live, and there are many others that where you can have a teleconference, a conversation with other people, just like we're doing now, and it's pretty darn simple. So it may be that you will our work will change, and ultimately we will end up maybe one day a week you come together socially distanced until we have figured out how to solve the COVID-19 situation, which is not going to be anytime soon based on everything that I'm seeing with our reactions as a society. Put on your mask. It's not that hard. I was going to grab mine, but so we're at a crossroad, and we are at a point where we have examples that going with renewables, going with energy efficiency, solving our transportation problems. We have to figure out the best way for moving us and our things around. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's one vehicle. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to jump in my SUV and drive to the grocery store a mile down the road to buy a gallon of Vermont milk. It might be that I get on a bicycle and ride. Maybe I get on an electric bicycle and ride down and get the milk. Maybe it's a social change, or in this case, I guess more of a personal change, where I go, I've got to plan ahead better and do all my grocery shopping as much as I can every 2 weeks rather than every 2 minutes. So there's a lot of change that's coming. I'm trying to figure out ways of exposing that future to people so they have the ability to realize that maybe I don't need the SUV. Maybe what I need is one electric car that lets me do my 80 or 90% of my travel needs. And maybe in addition to that, it is an electric bicycle just for the convenience of it, so that maybe you don't have to sweat when you come home from work or on your ride to work in the morning, if you even go to work in the morning. So rethinking what it is that we use to get around, I think is going to be key. And it is the lowest hanging fruit for Vermonters to save on their energy bills. I'm going to jump back to Efficiency Vermont for a second because I'm a huge fan of what they do. Efficiencyvermont.com, check them out. Give them a call, connect with them to find out, how to get an energy audit on your house. It's great to have that playbook. It's great to have something to turn to say, hey, I've got $500. Where could I invest $500 in my efficiency measures? And it will help you figure that out. So, here's an organization that has been helping us for years and years now, where every dollar invested in efficiency with the help of Efficiency Vermont, we get $2 worth of benefit to our economy. It's just such a great place to be doing business. And to be honest with you, right now is a great time to be connecting with them and finding out how they can help you. They've got some great incentives, thousands of dollars worth of incentives going on. And at least today, at the time of this recording, during the pandemic, it does make it a little bit more challenging to institute the ideas that are generated from these reports. But companies will come to your house and will do the necessary work still. So take advantage of that if you can. These are all things that we individually can do to live more sustainably on the planet, figuring out my transportation options and putting together a plan where I can solve those problems, either buying an electric bike from local distributors here in Vermont, or using the energy audit and making investments in my home, or doing my own projects on my own. Really just depends on where you want to go with it. And then switching to renewables. I mean, it is a no-brainer. There are organizations like a lot of the banks in Vermont and Vermont State Employees Credit Union. I'm a huge fan of theirs. I don't get paid to say anything good about them, but I will say that they have a lot of renewable energy loans and energy efficiency upgrade loans that are way cheaper than you get in a lot of places. So I would definitely look into that. And I would look at it from the standpoint of, by paying for and investing in efficiency and renewables through a monthly payment, rather than, sometimes people freak out when they hear, oh, it's going to cost you $20,000 to put in solar panels, or $25,000 to put in solar panels. I think, gosh, how can this be worth it? How can that even make sense? But when you realize that what you're paying for is a steady stream of energy at a consistent price for the next 25 or 30 years, compared to the volatility, incredible volatility of fossil fuels, especially, and less so for electricity, but that's for other reasons. So the opportunity is there for us to make the choices and be able to afford them. And I think we should probably be incentivizing, that's the right word, the investment in lowering energy costs for lower income Vermonters, especially, and making sure that they get all the benefits that the people who have more money get from switching to renewables or becoming more energy efficient. Lower income Vermonters spend more of their income, percentage of their income, on energy than people who have more money. And so figuring out ways that we can bring them along in the green revolution, if you want, I think it's incredibly important, insanely important. At the same time, we also need to make it more mainstream and easy for people with money to switch to renewables and switch to efficiency, lowering their energy needs and using renewable energy to supply their needs. Just makes total sense. So let's see. So basically, why don't we check and see if we have any questions?
Hey, Bob.
Hey.
I can read the questions to you.
Okay, great. That'd be great.
Yeah, so we have quite a few. So the first one is from Jacob Weinstein. He's an intern with Sustainable Transportation Vermont. And he's wondering, what do you think is the most influential and or compelling event that you've attended in Vermont?
Oh, boy, that is a really good question. Let's see. Most influential. Well, I'm going to, let's see. I think I have it right here. Yeah, I do. Isn't that funny? So I'm gonna put in a plug for what I think it was. I went to a Bernie rally. Actually, that's the wrong one. It was this one. I went to a rally with Bernie Sanders and some friends of mine, and it was, he was announcing his presidency, that he was going to run for president. And actually, this pass was for something else. It was on the waterfront in Burlington. Do you remember? Were you around when that happened? Anyway, it was quite an event, and we all. When I think back to the quality of character of Bernie and all the people that stood up on the stage with him on that hot afternoon on the waterfront in Burlington, and I was surrounded by a few thousand of my friends, and we were all really hopeful and optimistic, and he represented a lot of the ideas that we thought were important, and most of us still think they're important. So that was probably the most influential event here in Vermont that I've been to. Maybe a couple of Grateful Dead concerts along the way too, but that just shows my age.
That's awesome. Okay, so we can move on to the next question now, from Scott Weathers. And he asked, Bob, what do you think about the emergence of plant-based foods like the Impossible and Beyond Burgers as ways to reduce carbon footprints in our diets?
I really wanted to talk more about food. So thanks for the opportunity. I am not as up to date on the fake the what do you call it, the plant-based foods, impossible foods. So I think my immediate reaction is to that our diet is going, the best thing we can do for our body. For thousands of years, we've been eating grains and we've been eating plants and we've been eating meat, but we've been doing it in a way that that it was not processed. And the more you process food, the more reason for concern, I think. And so there's the opportunity for ingredients to be in your food that it isn't food, but they put it in there. So I don't know the answer to that's. I'm going to answer you as far as the impossible food by saying, don't know yet. But my gut is saying, no pun intended, is saying keep it raw, keep it as close to simple food as you can. Now, we all get to choose. I try not to judge what choices people make, but sometimes I do. But it's we've been around for a long time, but the Grocery Manufacturers Association hasn't been around that long, and I'm not sure why it's even called that, but that is an organization, the Grocery Manufacturers Association. Do you manufacture food? Do farmers manufacture food? So I think that I'm hoping that we can enhance Vermont's economy by supporting our local organic farmers and our local food producers here in the state as much as we can. And that means buy broccoli and don't buy, broccoli that's processed and it's frozen in a package with other ingredients that you don't need, that you can stick the plastic in your microwave oven. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So my buddy JT Dodge is running for the Senate. He asked a question, I say. I'm not. Yeah, so I welcome all questions. I'm not sure where the question is in that one, but maybe we can go on to Bruce, or you can read JT's. I don't care about.
Yeah, let's go on to Bruce. And
Okay.
I have a couple questions. So
Sure.
Bruce asks, housing, transportation, renewable energy generation, local economies, every day we're finding more ways in which these are interconnected. Where do you suggest we start?
Boy, that is a great question, Bruce. I don't remember the exact day, but I remember having the epiphany that, oh, it's not just one thing that's going to get us out of this mess. I was thinking, well, until the price of solar panels comes down, we can't really do anything. Now, back in 1976, the price of solar was like $70 a watt. And now on projects, and I'm probably out of date with this number, but it's like 30 cents a watt. So we can't complain about the cost of solar compared to what it used to be. I think the real trick is realizing, like I did, that it's not just one thing that's going to solve this problem. It's not just solar. It's not just wind. It's not just biomass, wood pellets and the like. It's probably a combination. So imagine your house having an energy audit, working through Efficiency Vermont, 800-922-95, I forgot the number. They can help you figure out how to lower your energy requirements on your home or your business, from lighting to heating, to cooling. So let's say you get an energy audit on your house and you realize, if I invest X number of dollars into energy efficiency, I can calculate how many BTUs of energy I'm going to need to make my house work. And so then you look at your alternatives for renewables and you say, okay, I'm going to put in solar, and I'm going to put in a cold climate heat pump, and I'm going to put in a pellet wood stove. And now we have gone from all our energy sourcing coming from the sun, basically, from the solar panels and the wood pellets, because trees, the leaves turn the energy into stored carbon, and we burn that. And now there is some controversy behind biomass, not that much, if you really understand the issue at hand. For making wood pellets, so that it's something that you can transport and move around really easily. There are region-wide manufacturers for wood pellets, and most of that energy comes from the tops of the trees that get harvested, and all this, I'll call it second grade wood. That's not the term that they use. It's not coming to me off the top of my head, but it's coming from waste materials from the logging industry. Vermont especially has way more wood production every single year than we harvest. So we could harvest a very large percentage of our forestry and still be in the positive side. So, and the other part of this is for the heating and wood pellets, the profit for managing our forests is really paid for by the sale of that second grade wood. And if it used to be that all that material would go to the paper mills, and the paper mills would take those branches and grind them up and make paper out of it. The paper mills don't exist anymore. And so burning it is basically a zero balance on the carbon side, because if you let a Jeff, friend of mine, remember his last name, works at Efficiency Vermont, was at a talk recently that I recorded, and he said, if a tree falls in the forest, over time, it emits the same amount of CO2 in its decomposition as it does if you burn it. Now, we're burning it faster than the slow release, but it's still going to zero itself out. It isn't the answer. It's not the long range answer for all our energy needs, but it is part of it. So that was my long-winded way of answering the question, where do you start? And I think where you really start is determining your energy needs and lowering your energy needs as much as you possibly can. So I'm going to jump back just for a second and talk about solar, a heat pump, and wood pellet heating as a backup. If you have enough solar that you can run a cold climate heat pump, and let's remember, a cold climate heat pump is not like the old electric baseboard that used to go around your house, where that's resistant heat, which is an incredibly inefficient way to heat a home, is with resistant heat. Cold climate heat pumps actually move heat molecules from outside to inside. And there is a reaction that occurs that's contained in the machine. It's that allows you to take heat out of the air as low as 20 below zero, or something incredibly cold. So you're heating your home with solar energy, and the backup could be the wood pellets. So that's, I guess my first thing would be get an energy audit on your home, figure out what your energy needs are, and then see the best way that serves your needs on how to produce your own energy.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob. And I think this is a great time to just wrap up right now.
Great.
So is there anything else you'd like to say before we end, or to plug any events or anything?
I wish I'd thought more of that and had a list for you, because there's always something going on. And now with Zoom and online opportunities, and people having a little bit more time to plug into this stuff, you can always go to bobthegreenguy.com, and you can go there and click on contact or talk to me or whatever it is. I've forgotten now. I think it's contact. And reach out to me if you have any other questions. I am compiling a database of all the upcoming events, so I'm happy to share those. I will say there's an election coming up in Vermont on August 11th next week. I encourage you to vote. And I don't know if I'm supposed to do any political stuff, but I will say that I don't know that our present governor is serving the state well in any other area other than COVID. He was a big fan of renewables. That was his first event, and yet renewables have died off in a big way. We've lost tons and tons of jobs, and I know it's complicated, but that's the job. So I hope people will participate in the political process, really figure out who your candidates are, and get behind them and support them, and talk to your friends, get other people to participate. We need some big change.
Awesome. And if anyone who doesn't know, last week, 2 weeks ago, we did a forum on 3 of the candidates running for governor. So if you are interested in watching that, it's on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel. And I also popped in Bob's website, so in the comment section. So if anyone wants to do that, just click on the link. But thank you so much, Bob, for being here, and we hope to have you back. And
Awesome.
If you think of any other events coming up, feel free to message me, and I can plug them in our next live.
I'm just so happy to have had the chance to do this, and you guys are just doing such great work. And you have, up until today, you have found some really great people to share their ideas and get their message out. And I'm always thrilled to share them on my Facebook page. I'm looking for more friends. If you're into all this renewable stuff and into energy efficiency and just sustainable living in Vermont and around the world, always feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. And now I'm just going to announce our next speaker. So next week, we're going to have an STVT intern, Hannah November, and she's going to be talking about food and fuel. And she'll be discussing the not so subtle overlaps between the food system and transportation. So we really hope that you all can join that and join the conversation with us next week, August 14th at 12. So we'll hope to see you there. Thank you.